Shalom. You know, it was just a couple of weeks ago that President Barack H. Obama, in an address regarding his Middle East policy, stated that the international community is tired of an endless process that never produces an outcome. And he stated this in regards to Israel's intransigence in insisting upon its right to exist, its sovereignty, the security of its borders. Actually, this tiredness of the international community, this frustration with the situation of Israel, we can find a very early example of that in this week's Torah portion, Parashat Balak, here in the book of Numbers. Parashat Balak opens up with Balak, the son of Tzipor, saw all that Israel had done to the Amorites. Moav became very frightened of the people because it was numerous, and Moav was disgusted in the face of the children of Israel. Moav said to the elders of Midian, "Now the congregation will lick up our entire surroundings as an ox licks up the greenery of the field." Actually, this is a very early example of the unity of the international community against the people of Israel. In fact, Rashi points out that Moav and Midian were actually natural-born enemies. They hated each other. They wanted nothing to do with each other, but their terrible hatred and loathing of Israel brought them together because they had to deal, as the responsible international community, they had to deal with the problem, the Jewish problem, the problem of Israel, which stated here so eloquently is that this congregation that came up out of Egypt will lick us up. That, of course, on a deep level, refers to the mission of Israel to uproot idolatry. And thus, everything that these men have going, their whole sham, their whole shell game would be exposed. So they have to deal with the problem of Israel, and they hire Bilaam. Balak hires Bilaam, and Bilaam is this incredibly gifted heathen prophet. And even though we have a principle in the Torah that prophecy is only given to Israel, the prophets are always Jews, there was this heathen prophet whom God gave to the nations so that they would not be able to say that if they were to have a prophet, they would return to righteousness. And an analysis of some of the intriguing, enigmatic, cryptic, elusive statements that our sages make regarding the character, the personality of this heathen prophet Bilaam, this analysis may give us some insights into the ancient arts of antisemitism on behalf of the international community, which again debuts here in this week's Parsha. So, when we read a description of Bilaam, we actually find some amazing ideas, because we might be tempted to think that Bilaam was some kind of wicked, evil, primitive soothsaying, some sort of practitioner of black arts. But actually, Bilaam was very slick, very sophisticated, very glib. Bilaam is described in the language of our sages as the greatest philosopher and thinker who ever lived. Bilaam was an educated man. He was a doctor. He was a man of letters. Perhaps in our jargon, he would have been the equivalent of a Nobel Prize laureate. Bilaam actually was extremely sophisticated, and he also was very gifted and had a alter ego that was actually predisposed towards righteousness. He could have used his energy for delivering the children of Israel out of Egypt and bringing them to the feet of Mount Sinai and actually having the Torah given through him. He had that potential, and when he didn't, when he chose to use his energy for wickedness, he became very jealous of Moshe. But actually, originally, he had been one of the main advisors of Paro. It was his advice that Paro should kill all the Jews, should bathe in the blood of the Jewish children. He was responsible for the servitude of the Jews in Egypt. So he has quite a history in terms of the people of Israel. But the main emphasis that our sages make when they talk about the nature, the character, the spiritual power of Bilaam was that he was extremely, extremely learned and sophisticated and accomplished and knowledgeable and educated. So actually, when I think about this, and the fact that today anti-Semitism is represented by philosophers, by great moralists, by some of the world's greatest thinkers, and how all anti-Semitism that succeeds today is couched as something which is pro-human rights and in favor of children's rights and all sorts of noble social reform, etc. I see all of this actually rooted in the art, in the cunning, and in the hatred of Bilaam. One case in point is this November, there is a bill due to be voted upon in San Francisco, California, which will prohibit circumcision as being something which is anti-children and something which is against children's rights. Circumcision, of course, being a prerequisite for the Jewish faith and the primary aspect of the covenant that God gave to all of Israel through Abraham. And proponents of this bill actually defend it. They defend the measure and they say it's all about human rights and protecting babies. But actually, a mere perfunctory examination of what's going on in San Francisco and some of the aspects of the proposal will reveal that this motion is actually rooted in the deepest, darkest forms of anti-Semitism. All of this actually conjures up one of the verses that Bilaam actually recited. And this is so amazing because you know that some of the most beautiful blessings that were ever uttered regarding Israel are found to have come forth from the mouth of the wicked Bilaam. Despite the fact that he intended to curse the people of Israel, God changed this around, and actually he is the author of some of these very, very beautiful blessings. And one of the blessings of Bilaam was, this is actually in his first set of blessings, because there are 3 sets altogether. Bilaam said, "Who has counted the dust of Jacob, or numbered a quarter of Israel? May my soul die the death of the upright, and may my end be like his." And our sages tell us who has counted the dust of Jacob is actually a reference to the foreskins of the children of Israel that were piled up in the desert. And when Bilaam saw the scene of the foreskins of the children of Israel, he said, wow, the merit that this people have, the strength, the spiritual power that this people have, who could stand up to them? No wonder that today's anti-Semites amongst the international community, who are couched in robes, in cloaks and garments of righteousness, of concern for children, of human rights, no wonder they chose this issue. This is the issue that indeed symbolizes the spiritual power and commitment and integrity of the Jewish people. So when we hear about the frustration and the tiredness of the international community, we understand that there's nothing new and that everything actually begins and ends with the Torah. So, sorry anti-Semites, but you can't get out of it. We're on to you. It's all been written in the book.